Hi, so we're continuing our learning of Mishnah Shabbat. We're in the middle of chapter 5, so chapter 5, halacha gimel. And we're continuing our learning about what may an animal go out with and what may an animal not go out with. So before we talked about in the first two mishnayot, we talked about what is permissible, and now we're going to talk about what is forbidden. And remember, we talked about some of the defining characteristics of what's forbidden. Is it something that's excessive for controlling the animal? Is it insufficient for controlling the animal? Is it a burden? We'll see a few more variables in these mishnayot. But that's the general idea. It has to be just what's needed for controlling the animal. That's what's permissible, what we saw in the previous two mishnayot. Okay, so, gimel. Uvama ena yotzah, what we may not go out with the animal. Lo yitzei gamal bim tutelet, lo akud velo ragul, v'chen shar chol behemot. A camel may not go out with a patch on its tail, nor with its front legs or hind legs chained together, nor with its foreleg bent back to the shoulder. And so it's the case with all other animals. So the first thing, the patch on its tail, that it may be something to cover it up or something to identify it. So it's not necessary for it to be able to go out. So that's something that's not permitted because of it's not necessary for controlling it. And the forelegs or the hind legs chained together, or the foreleg tied back to the shoulder, that's not permitted because that's definitely excessive for what's necessary to control the animal. So it says that that's forbidden with all animals, not just camels, because it's overly excessive in order to control the animal, which we said it has to be just what's necessary. Okay, moving on. Lo yikshor gemalim ze baze v'yimshoch, aval machnis chavelim letoch yado v'yimshoch. This one's interesting. It says, one may not tie camels to one another and lead them, but he may gather the ropes in his hand, so you have all the ropes, an individual rope for each camel, and lead them, provided that he does not wind them, that the ropes are not wound together. And this probably has to do with if one of your ropes is wool and one is linen, we're concerned about the prohibition of shatnez. So if you wound them together in such a way that they're really together, and it was coming to be comfortable in your hand or warm your hand like an article of clothing, then it would be comparable to wearing shatnez. So there's an issue if one winds them together. Okay, we're moving on to Daled. Ein chamor yotzei v'marda'at bizman she'ena kishura lo, v'lo v'zug af al pi shehu pakuk, v'lo v'sulam shebetzivarav, v'lo v'yirtzoa shebaraglo. So, a donkey may not go out with a saddlecloth when it is not tied to it. That has to do with it perhaps falling off. And then you would come to pick it up and carry it. So things that are not on an animal tightly is one of the other variables that we said would make something prohibited. Nor with a bell, even if it is plugged. So you can't have that has to do with another one of the things that you wouldn't put on an animal. We said a burden, we said something that's insufficient or excessive for controlling it, but also something that would normally be used to lead it to market. So when you go to market, you put a bell on your animal so you draw attention to it. So even if you plug the bell so it's not actually ringing, this would still be forbidden because it's typically used for leading it to market. Nor with a ladder on its neck. And that has to do with some kind of device to prevent the animal from scratching or getting to its own wounds, kind of like a collar that we nowadays maybe put on a dog or a cat so they don't harm themselves. So that would be something that's not explicitly necessary for the animal, for controlling it. So also problematic. Nor with a strap on its leg, same type of thing of controlling it. Then we go on. Ve'ein hatarnagolin yotz'in v'chutin v'lo v'yirtzuot sheberegleihem. And the same thing with chickens may not go out with cords nor with straps on their legs. So whether this is something for identifying them or something having to do to prevent them from jumping around, either way, this is because it's something that can fall off or because it's something that's excessive for controlling them would be problematic. Ve'ein hazecharim yotzim ba'agalat shetachat ha'aliyah shelahen. And rams may not go out with a wagonette underneath their tail. Also something unnecessary. Ve'ein harechelim yotzot chanunot. And ewes may not go out with these chips in their nose, so something that was meant for providing like a minor treatment from discomfort that this was put in the animals to do some kind of like deworming process. So it wasn't causing them great pain. It was just like a minor annoyance or discomfort, and therefore this is not necessary for taking the animal out, and therefore not allowed. And maybe perhaps also these chips sounds like something that could fall out, and maybe you'd pick up and carry, and that would be another additional problem. Ve'ein ha'egel yotze v'gimon v'lo fara ve'or hakupa v'lo virtsua shebein karneha. And a calf may not go out with a little yoke, nor a cow with a hedgehog skin, nor with a strap between her horns. So the little yoke that on a calf, that has to do with you're preparing the animal for when it's older to bear a full yoke, and that would be carrying a burden. So this is just like a miniature version of that to get the young animal ready. So certainly equivalent to carrying a burden, so not permissible. Nor cow with hedgehog skin, that's something to cover up its udders to maybe prevent other animals from getting to its milk. So also something that could potentially fall off and you would pick up and carry. Nor with a strap between her horns, and that sounds like something that's an excessive kind of device for controlling the animal, perhaps. Okay, continuing with the last line of this Mishnah. Parato shel Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah hayta yotz'a v'irtzua shebein karneha shelo v'ratzon chachamim. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's cow used to go out with a strap between her horns without the consent of the sages. So clearly it seems like he had a disagreement, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that he thought this was permissible. The sages did not. It seems like we hold in accordance with the sages, and he was a minority dissenting opinion, but he thought that was permissible. Okay. So that's the end of that Mishnah, and also it ends chapter 5, so we'll continue next week with chapter 6. Wishing everyone a great week and a Shabbat Shalom when that coming up in 2 days, and all the best. Okay, bye. See you next week.